includes East San Fernando Valley communities of Van Nuys, Pacoima, and Sun Valley. Martinez was a former member of the school board. Martinez takes over the seat formerly held by Tony Cardenas, who was recently elected to the U.S. Congress. The 6th Street Viaduct replacement project moves ahead as the city's Bureau of Engineering recommends the joint venture of Skanska, Stacy, and Whitbeck to construct the $400 million viaduct. They'll work with the engineering and design firm of HNTB Incorporated during the design phase. Mayor Garcetti says the new approach is an example of doing more with less and addresses the need to refocus city government on core services like bridges and roads, but do so in new ways that save taxpayer dollars. Concrete used in the original construction has been subject to a chemical reaction that has caused it to lose significant strength, making the replacement necessary. Here's a sneak peek at construction on the IMAX Theater at the TCL Chinese Theater in Hollywood. The renovated theater will be the largest in the IMAX chain with over 980 seats and will become the Canadian company's prime location to IMAX movie premieres.
This is going to be the first IMAX theater in Hollywood, which is really exciting because that means that filmmakers and talent are going to be able to actually premiere their films in IMAX here in Hollywood in their hometown, and residents and locals and tourists and all the moviegoers in Los Angeles will be able to come to Hollywood to see IMAX movies now.
The Chinese Theater, which is located in Mitch O'Farrell's Council District 13, will be closed for renovations until this fall. 37 members of the LAPD were recognized recently for their heroism and humanitarianism during a special ceremony at department headquarters. Chief Charlie Beck was on hand to pay tribute to the honorees.
You know, every day, 10,000 Los Angeles police officers do things that other people wouldn't do. They walk down dark alleys. They enter doorways. They put themselves at risk for people they've never met. And they do so not because we pay them, but because they are dedicated to the safety of this city and the safety of each other.
The officers were recognized for their bravery and outstanding service and for going beyond the call of duty in their pledge to protect and to serve. For some, summertime means barbecues, swimming, and just plain relaxing. But for others, nothing beats jumping on a bike for some fun in the sun. Yana Kay takes us on a tour with City Councilman Tom LaBonge.
These Angelinos decided to leave their cars at home and hit the streets of Hollywood on their bikes.
There's hardly a better way to explore your city and to really feel a part of your city. And I know that sounds cliche, but it's really true.
These bikers are taking part in the final stage of Tour LaBonge, an annual bike ride series put on by Councilmember Tom LaBonge.
It's summer in the city, and we celebrate the city. We got our bike series. This completes it with this ride here in Hollywood.
This is the 6th and last ride of the bike series. Over the summer, bikers rode through several LA neighborhoods, including Sherman Oaks, Miracle Mile, Silver Lake, and Toluca Lake. Many say this event is a great way to get people together and on their bikes.
When you have a bike, you explore the city and you're energizing yourself. It's just the most sustainable and fun way to get around.
Police officers were out in full force, making sure everyone followed the rules of the road and stayed safe.
We as police officers, we're going to have a contingency of 6 or 7 officers who's going to be riding in front and basically be road guarding for the rider's safety.
As this bike tour comes to an end, many are already looking forward to the next one. I'm Yana Kay for LA This Week.
Over the past couple of years, fitness zones have been installed in dozens of city parks. Anita Bennett reports that the workout areas have been such a big hit that some areas are already being expanded.
As families work up a sweat at the Van Nuys Sherman Oaks Park, city leaders gather just a few feet away to celebrate the addition of 4 new pieces of equipment here.
1, 2, 3, 4. Good job. All right.
The newly installed machines are meant to encourage people to exercise more while taking advantage of city parks.
What we try to do is look at amenities, look at putting things in the park that you're going to use, putting things in the park that are going to make a difference for you. putting things in the park that are going to continue to enhance the quality of life of every park used in the city.
The workout area here in Sherman Oaks originally opened in January of this year. After noticing long lines to use the equipment, an anonymous donor teamed up with the Los Angeles Parks Foundation and City Councilman Tom LaBonge's office to pay for more equipment.
I was just down the corner and I was staring, and I thought, look at all these people. They're working out on these machines, they're exercising, they're sharing it with others. It's an experience. That's what a park's all about.
And there's more to come. Over the next few months, the city plans to add 2 new soccer fields here along with artificial turf. I'm Anita Bennett for LA This Week.
The adult playground concept started in China and Europe. According to the New York Times, Los Angeles has been a leader in implementing that concept here in the U.S. One local baseball team has been in Los Angeles decades longer than the LA Dodgers. The LAPD's baseball team has been playing charity ball for 126 years. As Gil Reyes explains, it's a tradition that continues to help neighborhood kids.
Get it, side of it. There you go. Now pick it up, throw it back. Nice, good throw. One more time.
You've probably heard of officers in the field, but maybe not this field. Their duty, even here, to protect and to serve.
Good job. Nice catch. Excellent. All right.
So what are you learning out here?
How to pitch, swing, keep your eye on the ball, and teamwork.
The LAPD baseball team has been playing competitive charity baseball since the 1880s, participating in police and fire department tournaments nationwide. It's made up of 25 sworn LAPD officers.
You guys know what pitching is?
Yeah.
Okay.
On this day, the officers are hosting a special baseball clinic for children at El Carrizo County Park in Sylmar.
It's our way of giving back to the community. We have such a good opportunity to come out here and play baseball, stress reliever from work.
First of all, we're going to get the kids together. We're going to tell them about keeping drug-free and crime-free. And once we get them to talk to them about that, we're going to get them into baseball instructions.
During the game, okay, let's say I'm looking for the signals, okay? I'm right here, we're ready. And then once I say yes, okay, then I come here. Am I set now?
Yes.
Yes? Can I move my shoulders?
No.
Okay, so what should I do next?
Pitch. Your head.
Pitch? Pitch the ball, right? Okay, so then I go throw it. Oh.
You know what? Our history is actually greater than the Dodgers. We have a 1887 that's documented in the LA Times and the LA Herald that those guys back then played charity baseball against the Constables, which were the sheriffs at the time, and they played for a women's girls orphan home. And that was charity back 126 years ago. We didn't know much about it till a couple years ago, but we have documented that, and we want to continue that tradition.
Switch it. Right over left. Okay.
Their goal, to encourage teamwork in the children and to build their self-esteem.
Don't get mad when you make mistakes. You know what you do? You come back and do it again, right?
This confidence building appears to be working.
Who's better, the girls or the boys?
Girls.
With the boys and girls of summer spreading their wings. In Sylmar, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
All the kids were invited to the baseball clinic, and the program was free of charge. It's shaping up to be another sunny weekend in Los Angeles, and that means another opportunity to find your musical soul. It's all this week on Things to Do. On Friday at the Ford Amphitheater, enjoy 2 of the best West Coast bluegrass artists at this year's Bluegrass at the Ford. John Reichman is considered one of the top-ranked mandolin players and composers, while Lori Lewis is one of the preeminent bluegrass and Americana artists of our time. Take in this rare opportunity starting at 8 p.m. at the Ford. It's located at 2580 Cahuenga Boulevard in Hollywood. For more information, check out FordTheaters.org. If you need a rousing way to wake up on Saturday, bring yourself downtown to Grand Park for an exciting outdoor drumming experience. It's called Drum Downtown Pulse and Pitch, and it's open to people of all ages and skill levels. Drums and percussion instruments are provided. It all starts on Saturday at 10 a.m. in Grand Park. For more information, check out musiccenter.org. As Angelinos, we can all enjoy the world's diversity without ever leaving Los Angeles. This Saturday, the Los Angeles Public Library in Sherman Oaks will be the site of Inca music from Peru, a fusion of Incan, Hispanic, Amazon jungle, and Afro-Peruvian music. It's an experience for the whole family featuring exciting rhythms and rare ethnic instruments. Co-produced by the Department of Cultural Affairs, the fun begins at 3 p.m. at the Sherman Oaks Branch Library located at 14245 Moorpark Street. For more information, call 818-205-9716. On Sunday, the California African American Museum has a block party going on. Bring your dance shoes for a party on the plaza with a live DJ. All the fun starts at 1 p.m., and it's all free. The California African American Museum is located at 600 State Drive in Exposition Park. For more information, check out caamuseum.org. And that's a look at some upcoming things to do. On July 19th, space-minded folks trekked to the Griffith Observatory to pose for an out-of-this-world photo. As Anita Bennett explains, it was a picture captured from millions of miles away.
On this sunny July afternoon, hundreds of people gathered outside the Griffith Park Observatory for an out-of-this-world photo shoot.
A spacecraft that NASA sent to Saturn is going to be taking a picture of us. How many of you didn't know there was a spacecraft at Saturn? I know, isn't that amazing? It's over 900 or close to 900 million miles away. That's 10 times further away than the sun.
That spacecraft is called Cassini.
Cassini has been in orbit around Saturn for something like, since about 2006. And it orbits the planet. It gets a close look at the rings of Saturn, the planet itself, and its 60-some moons. And today it's actually going to be in the shadow of Saturn, so we'll get a unique view of sunlight streaming through the rings of the planet.
And on July 19th, it got a unique view of Earth as the planet appeared through the rings of Saturn.
There are not a lot of pictures of Earth taken from deep space, just a few. So this one will be a long, historic image, and you and all of us will be in it.
For 15 minutes, Cassini snapped pictures as people across the planet, including Griffith Park, waved. While you couldn't actually see anyone here on Earth, just a small blue dot, everyone was still beaming over the thought of being a part of this historic photo. I'm Anita Bennett for LA This Week.
NASA plans to compare the new picture with one taken in 2006 to see how Saturn's rings have changed. Well, that's going to do it for today's show. Thanks for joining us. I'm Brian Ojima. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for another edition of LA This Week. So long.
Investigating a series of bizarre and disturbing attacks that have left children in cities from coast to coast injured and fearing for their safety. As Global's Annika Bauer tells us, the young victims were targeted simply because of the color of their hair.
Dave Better-Law, we begin with an Eyewitness News exclusive disturbing video of a gay man being beaten in Queens.
The individual was attacked simply for his orientation, and we're just not going to tolerate it.
The word hate is just inexcusable. It's a word that shouldn't be used, and to hate somebody for the color of their skin is just not right.
It creates fear among all of the community members.
I think it's wrong how people discriminate against others just because of the way they prefer people, as in gays or just their skin color. It's wrong, and something needs to be done. A hate crime is any criminal act directed against a person based on the victim's actual or perceived nationality, religion, sexual orientation, disability, gender, and especially race. Examples of hate crimes include acts which result in injury even if the injury is slight, threats of violence that look like they can be carried out, acts which result in property damage, any criminal act or attempted criminal act, including property damage directed against public or private agencies.
The suspect can spend up to 1 year in jail, and if it's a felony, it could either be between 2 and 4 years for a prison sentence.
If you believe a hate crime has occurred or will occur, you are very much encouraged to contact the Los Angeles Police Department or the We Tip hotline. Public cooperation is often essential in solving hate crimes. We Tip hotline, 909-987-5005.
Hi, I'm Craig Irwin in Los Angeles.
Hi, I'm Trenton Irwin, and you're watching LA City View, Channel 35, our city, our channel.
get started in a few moments. Today's date is Tuesday, July 30th. I want to welcome everyone to your Los Angeles City Council. This council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. If you would like to address this council, there are public comment cards you can pick up in the back. If you want to just come and watch your local government at work, you're welcome. So with that said, Madam Clerk, I do believe we have a quorum. Why don't we get started? Would you please call the roll?
Blumenfeld, Bonin, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Fuentes, Huizar, Carrasco, Krikorian, Labange, O'Farrell, Parks, Price, Wesson, Timmer is present. A quorum, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Krikorian moves, Price seconds. Next.
Committee resolutions for approval.
Bonin moves, Blumenfield seconds. Next.
Mr. President, today is Tuesday, and now would be the time for the flag salute.
Okay, I'll ask everyone in council to please rise. We'll be led in today's flag salute by Council Member Mike Bonin. Mike Bonin, if you could lead this body, please.
Sure. Please place your hands over your heart. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bonin. Madam Clerk, maybe we should run through the agenda quickly. Then we'll begin today's business.
Mr. President, there's a request to continue items 1, 2, 4, and 5 to August 30th, and to refer item 17 to the Executive Employee Relations Committee.
Okay, so without objection, that'll be the order. Next.
Item 3 is an item notice for public hearing, and there are cards on that item.
Okay, let's hold item 3.
Items 6 through 17 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Members' specials on items 6 through 17. Okay, no member specials, and we already satisfied the Mr. Fuentes.
Which item is it? Six? Number 6.
Okay, number 6. In fact, you know what I recommend? That for the next couple of minutes, why don't we hold all of the public work commissioners for about 5 minutes or so.
And that's items 6 through 10.
Okay, so that's what we'll do. Let's vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Okay, next.
The ordinance on item number 11 will be held over for 1 week for second reading if not reconsidered.
Well, I'm hopeful that before the day is out, we'll have 12 members. At that time, Madam Clerk, if you remind me, I will vote for reconsideration, and then we'll vote again on that item, and we'll just get rid of it today, okay? All right, so where are we now?
Items 18 through 42 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes required for consideration.
Okay, without objection, those items are now before us. You have cards on these items?
Cards on items 18, 21, 23, 25, 36, and 40.
Okay, we'll hold those items. Mr. Krikorian, are you looking at me because you want to speak to me, or are you just looking at me because you like my suit?
Well, it's a lovely suit, Mr. President, but I just wanted to call number 20 special.
I just wanted to know.
And the suit's pretty special, too, I have to say.
You did have a look in your eye. This suit is like Blumenfield's son suit, so he and I could be twins. Okay, so let's hold Mr. Krikorian's item.
I'm sorry, Mr. President. I wanted to call it special for the purpose of asking that it be continued for 2 weeks.
Okay, so then we'll continue it. That will bring us to what day?
Thank you.
August 13th.
August 13th. Okay, we've just been joined by Mr. Parks. Can we go back? Should we vote on these items and then go back and do reconsideration? Okay, so why don't we vote on the items that are not? Mr. Koretz.
Did we refer item 17 back to the EERC?
Yes, item
Okay.
17 was referred back.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So let's vote on these items.
Excuse me, Mr. President. For item 34, there's a request to receive and file that item.
Okay, without objection. Okay, so let's again vote on these items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, now what was the ordinance again? Was it item 11?
Yes.
Okay, so let's vote on reconsideration of item 11. So that's what's before this body. So let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Now let's actually vote on the item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, so let's we can move that item on now. Where are we on the agenda?
On the supplemental agenda, items 43 and 44, items for which public hearings have not been held, 10 votes required for consideration.
Okay, so without objection, those items are now before us. Do you have cards on these items?
No cards.
Members, items supplemental agenda, items 43, 44. Any specials? Okay, not seeing any. Let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay. Even though he's not here, I do want to, Mr. Cedillo.
Forthwith.
Forthwith. Even though he's not here, I do want to congratulate Mr. Buscaino. Had a very, very successful community swearing-in event Saturday. And I have to say to all of the members, Mike Bonin and Mitch O'Farrell, Gilbert Cedillo, and I'm sure I'm missing a few. Felipe was there, Nuri was there, Bob was there. It was a great turnout. Paul Koretz was there. It was great. It was great to see all of you there. Okay, so with that said, we can move on. Madam Clerk, where do you recommend we start? Mr. Fuentes, could you come up here for a minute?
Mr. President, that takes council to items called special.
Okay, we'll go with item 3. Donald, I think it's Duckworth, Dennis Weintraub, and Esther Eisenstein. If you guys would please come to the center aisle. We are on item 3. Please come to the center aisle, and whoever gets there first speaks first. So now don't be shy. Let's get there. I got a meeting to run.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
I'm not the mayor. Let's make that crystal clear.
You are. We're here to support the adoption of the Melrose Business Improvement District, and if there's any questions, we're in the audience for your pleasure. Our president, Dennis Weintraub, is here with me today.
Good morning. As the president of the Melrose Property Owners Association, you sometimes get accolades and sometimes you get attacked, but that's part of the job and the exposure. But in this case, there was a group effort of more than over 3 years of tenants, neighborhood councils, homeowners, property owners, schools, churches and synagogues, and also local representatives of the government who knew that we had to take responsibility for revitalizing an area that at one time was an internationally known avant-garde retail and up-and-coming entertainment talent. I believe we have the votes from the ballots to carry the motion for Melrose bid. But we know we couldn't get it unanimous. Our job now is to bring all those stakeholders into the process so that we can move forward together and make everyone in this iconic and famous neighborhood look back 5 years from now with pride and satisfaction that we all stepped up to the plate and made a difference. Thank you very much.
Please come forward.
Hi, my name is Esther Eisenstein, and I own, together with my sister,
a property on 710 North Genesee, which is not on Melrose, yet we are being part of this assessment district. Our frontage on Melrose is 0. Even the side around Genesee is not our district, is not on Melrose. We have a small little entryway to our property on Genesee, and then the length of our building is an alleyway. Basically, our landscaping is 2 gigantic ficus trees in front of our door. And I ask that you reconsider including these kind of side residential units in this commercial district. I ask that you either deny or table this district until we have an opportunity to discuss it. I talked with Mr. Duckworth yesterday, and he said that this has been in the offing for 3 years. And this letter that I received regarding the vote was the first time I ever heard about it. I never received any mailed documentation on it. So we have no frontage. We have long-term residential rental tenants. We are under LA rent control. We are subject to that, and we cannot, and we don't ever intend to go against it. And I feel that our property happens to be zoned C2, but with a residential rental occupancy. And so I want some consideration here, because a lot of the things being done are for the commercial properties, which add congestion, parking issues, etc. Thank you.
Hold on. Okay, Mr. Kramer, Marshall Kramer, followed by, sir, do you have a card in with the USC shirt? Okay. Marshall Kramer, followed by Mr. Walsh, John Walsh.
Yes, my name is Marshall Kramer, and I'm a trustee of the Marshall F. Kramer and Hannah Kramer Revocable Trust. My wife is also a part owner of this property at 710 North Genesee. We also, echoing the comments of Esther Eisenstein, 710 North Genesee is a residential rental unit and is not a retail business operation. Its lease rates cannot be unrestrictedly increased. It is also subject to the Los Angeles rent control, and many other tenants who live there are long-term. We don't feel that 710 North Genesee, an apartment building, would benefit from any of the security services, which are primarily for the benefit of retail operations, which have ongoing, changing retail customers. 710 North Genesee is not located on Melrose Avenue, and therefore the proposed landscaping, sanitation, and beautification proposals of the plan, in our opinion, would not benefit this residential rental business, which again is not located on Melrose, but is just about a little bit north of Melrose. Finally, we do not feel that 710 North Genesee, our apartment building, would benefit from any marketing or promotion activity which is intended to attract customers or visitors to the area. The tenants in this residential rental property all sign long-term leases and are unlike retail customers who really have no contractual relationship with the business located in the plan's boundaries. In fact, being residential, the tenants do not want to attract any more congestion to the area. It's very hard for them to find parking as it is, to even drop off their groceries or have an occasional visitor.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr. Walsh?
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. To these two people who just found out last week that they were in the benefit assessment district, I want to tell you what my great-grandfather Leo Berger said. He paid attention to what was happening in Hungary, and he got his butt out of Hungary before the communists came in. I mean, before the Nazis came in, and that's why I exist. He moved to New York. You have to pay attention. You have to pay attention to everything that's going on in your neighborhood. They didn't give you a notice. And let me tell you, getting up here to those people means nothing except you put it on the record. You must hire a lawyer and file a claim. That's the only way you get anything against these people, or leave the way my great-grandfather did. I'm telling you right now, and incidentally, while you're in the benefit assessment district, make sure you get full benefits. If there's trash on your street, call them up. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Walsh. Okay, no more speakers on the queue. Let's prepare to vote on this item. Madam Clerk, please open the roll. Wait. Mr. Koretz, do I see you on the queue?
Yes, I just wanted to ask if, today I think we're just closing the ballot process, and later we'll be counting the ballots. If indeed there are 50%, I would just ask the bid consultant to work with the property that came and testified today to see if there's a way to help them deal with their specific situation.
Okay, I think that's
otherwise we've worked with this community for many months and in fact years to try and make this happen. And I'd ask my colleagues to support this effort.
I think that's a fair request. Okay, let's prepare to vote on the item.
Mr. President,
yes.
For that you don't need to vote on the item. Council could just simply close the public hearing.
Okay, then let's just close the public hearing on this. Okay, next item I think is item 18, and that's called special by Mr. Walsh. John Walsh. John Walsh passes. If we could prepare to vote on it, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Next, that brings us to item 21, called special by Mr. Walsh. John, 21, you pass on 21? Okay, let's prepare to vote on this. Madam Clerk, open the roll. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Mr. Walsh, 23. Item 23.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. This concerns the Hollywood Walk of Blood. That's what we call it since the blood has been shed on it. This is concerning Jennifer Lopez's star. Now, if you look, you have 9 stars you're about to approve. Most of them have already been, we've already had the ceremony for them. Of the 9, there is 1 woman and 8 white guys. There are there's 1 Hispanic and 1 woman, the same person. And 1 African American. Excuse me, 7 white guys and 1 African American. The point I'm making is that these racists who give out the stars give them out primarily to white guys. Okay? And the Backstreet Boys is 10 white guys. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Okay, thank you. Let's prepare to vote on that item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Let's go to item 25. John, is this your handwriting, Mr. Walsh? But no name?
It just says City Council.
City Council, L.A.? So if so, Mr. Walsh, come forward on item 25.
John, this is Steve Harvey, a black man. You know, I go back far enough that I remember when there was I think 1 black star. And then Paul Robeson's son spent 3 years fighting for a star for his father and finally got the star for his father. We're going back to the 1970s. And so, as you can see, this thing, and incidentally, the Walk of Fame is filthy. They don't clean it. And remember, that's not the city That's the nonprofit who runs the Walk of Fame. That's not, the city okays it, but they are not the ones who decide. So I'm not calling this board racist. I'm calling the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce racist. And incidentally, they just put a fence up on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in front of the W Hotel. You can't even walk on the Walk of Fame now since they put up the fence. I'm going to be putting a photo of that picture on our website. Come to our website, learn more, HollywoodHighlands.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Okay, let's prepare members to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Item 40, John Walsh, come forward, please.
Mr. President.
Mr. Krikorian.
Just while Mr. Walsh is coming up, could I ask that number 18 be sent forthwith, please?
Without objection.
Thank you.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, or J. Walsh Confidential, or just put in John Walsh and I come up before America's Most Wanted. Okay, number 40. This concerns stormwater pollution. Anytime you swim in any beach in the city of L.A., you're in big trouble. Okay, so all this stuff in the county of L.A., all this garbage that from the sewers is entering the ocean with almost no treatment. We're going to have a superstorm here in L.A. Sooner or later. It might be 10 years, 15 years from now. And when the superstorm comes and the sewers are backed up, it's going to be even worse than in New York City. And in New York City, the cost was billions and billions of dollars. You're not prepared for disaster. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Thank you. Okay, let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, now we'll go. Mr. Walsh, does he have time remaining? 1 minute. We're on item 36, John. And you will be followed by a David Hoffman. Do we have David Hoffman and a Carol Freeman? Please come to the center aisle. Carol Freeman, David Hoffman. Mr. Walsh, you're up.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. This is $1,288,000 for something called post-release supervised persons. You know, I don't know what this is, and nobody up there is going to ask. We have many ways to supervise people. Let me tell you, did the white guy who murdered and stabbed to death on Hollywood Boulevard, was he part of post-release supervised persons? He was arrested 36 times and released. And I want to say to every black and every Hispanic person in L.A. or in America, no black or Hispanic would ever get released 36 times. You have to have white skin to get released 36 times for a crime. This kind of skin.
Next. Please come forward. Identify yourself.
My name is Carol Freeman.
Okay, go right ahead.
Okay, the reason why I'm here is it's really a repeat of something that I had done here 2 months ago. I came to you and I told you, as the city of Los Angeles, the people here in the chamber, that there is a serious problem, which I think you're aware of, and that is this economy and how it has affected the city. And we're really concerned about what's going to happen to this city if you do not vote in the appropriate way, or if you do not talk to the California legislature, and that is what we're doing is we're asking and we're almost pleading with you to please support the Glass-Steagall bill. That is the only thing that is going to save our Tookies.
She should be raising these concerns in general public comment, Mr. President, not on this item.
Okay.
That's the only thing.
All right, thank you. Okay, Mr. Hoffman. Mr. Hoffman, are you still here? Are you speaking on the subject? If so, sir, please come forward.
I'm going to pass until public comment.
Okay, which is where would be the appropriate area to discuss this. Okay, let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, now we're going to go to general public comment for a while. Anthony Wayne Ford, Sean, I think that's Sean Murphy. Okay, and John Walsh and Mr. Hoffman. Okay, sir, identify yourself. Please go forward.
My name is Anthony Wayne Ford, and I would appreciate it if everybody paid attention to what I'm about to say because it's very, very important. My name is Anthony Wayne Ford. I'm a Vietnam-era veteran. 3 years ago, I used to sit here in the city council meeting just to see how this government body of people and city work. I was unemployed. I went back. I was unemployed. Started, but that went back to school for WorkSource to retrain in a new job skill program. I successfully participated in the GROW program, General Release Opportunity to Work, the Exposition Line, the Transit Program for work in March 2008 with the promise of a job because I lived in the area code of the community area. I did the orientation, but the jobs never happened. So I tried the Mayor Viragosa Vocational Work Program, but received a letter that the city was no longer accepting applications. Then there was the We Build program, a 10-week apprenticeship construction training program, and I paid for the classes out of my pocket. But after the program, there was no work assignment. So then I tried the LAUSD Green Work program. I called to enroll, but I was told that the classes was full, and they were out of East Los Angeles Skills Center. So then I tried the Census Bureau. That was not until 2010. So that's when I joined the Painter's Apprenticeship Training Program and became a painter through WorkSource. I was able to go to school at night and work during the day for the LA Housing Department as an apprentice painter for 3 years. But after graduating and being profiled in the Hackler Voice magazine and becoming a journeyman painter, I was laid off from work by Jim Cecil, Nicholson Garden, manager Sanford Riggs, the director, because they said my service was no longer needed because of my increase in salary. My point is, these training programs do not work at the graduation. We are out of work once again, and our job is given to other low-skilled workers.
Thank you, sir. It's your time. Thank you. Okay, next person, Sean, I guess it would be you. Come on.
Good morning, Mr. President. The reason I'm here, I miss my fans. I'm still on summer break. I want to congratulate the new city council people on their jobs. They're going to have many years to do. I want to congratulate the new councilwoman for CD6. It's going to be a good council. Pray for the new council people. If you don't know me, I'm Sean Murphy. I am a household name at City Council chambers. I graduated from LA High 31 years ago. Most of you know who I am in Los Angeles. I'd like to talk about the streets has to be repaired, and I don't see my other councilman, LaBonge. First of all, I want to bring up what's going on in my church. It's going to be renovated next week. We got the money for it. The bids are good. Everything's well planned. It's going to be inconvenience for a while for St. Charles parishioners like myself. That's it. I'll be back September 10th. I'm enjoying my summer break. That's all, Mr. President. I'll see you September 10th.
Good to see you, Sean.
What's that?
I said good to see you.
I pray for the new city council members, and my prediction was right. Current Price did win CD9.
You were right, Sean. You were right. Okay, Mr. Walsh.
See you September 10th.
Followed by Carol Freeman and David Hoffman and Juan Acala.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. I like this new council. You notice the meetings are about a half an hour shorter? That's the prattling we used to get from Rosendahl. He never shut up. Half an hour of how great he was. Thank God he's gone. Okay, New York Times. John Walsh's psychotic ravings. Hollywood Boulevard is out of control with crime. Now, John Walsh's psychotic ravings on the front page of the New York Times. And this isn't the first time that my psychotic ravings have become conventional wisdom. The Millennium Towers, you're never going to build it. You need a trench to find out whether there's an earthquake fault. And some of us are thinking we may practice civil disobedience and go out there and dig our trench and point to the earthquake fault, which you can see. Sidewalk repair. Now, you're going to put Kevin James on here, or as we call him, Judas, because he has kissed Garcetti's lips and other spots, and now is a 100% tax and spend. Garcetti has made a deal with Kevin James. The deal is that he will push the $3 billion sidewalk repair tax hike. That's being set up. We have the worst streets, sidewalks in America. And throwing $3 billion at it isn't going to make any difference. So I just want you to know the LAPD is out of control. The only place safe here is if you're at the sheriff's in the subway. The subway was not out of control. We're very happy with this new council. The quieter you are, the better. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. I think that's Mr. Hoffman behind you. Please come forward.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
About a year ago, one of our colleagues, Bill Roberts, is running for Congress in Michigan, went to the city council of Detroit and told them, look, this city's going to go bankrupt unless we can get the Glass-Steagall bill reenacted into the Congress. And sure enough, that's what happened. They bet the wrong way on some interest swaps. They lost hundreds of millions. And now the city attorney has got a sweetheart deal for the banks where they're getting 80 cents on the dollar, while the poor pensioners, the fire workers, the policemen, the teachers are getting pennies on the dollar, if that much, if they're lucky. So the question is, who's next? Is it Chicago? Is it Los Angeles? Or is it the state of California? And but look, there's a real groundswell taking place where there are actually two bills in the Senate. There's Tom Harkin's bill, S-985. There's Elizabeth Warren's bill. And there's a bill in the House, H.R. 129, with over 70 co-sponsors. And 24 states so far have resolutions to bring back the Glass-Steagall banking law. And we're asking the city of Los Angeles to introduce a resolution to back this up. We got to get we got to put the pressure on the Congress. We've got to put the pressure on Barbara Boxer, on Dianne Feinstein. We got to put the pressure on these congressmen like Waxman, like Maxine Waters. She's the head of the Financial Services Committee. She could get that bill out of committee and passed. If we don't, we'll have hell to pay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Ms. Freeman, come forward.
Hello. I apologize for not giving the right stuff at the right time. This is only my second time being here and speaking before you. But anyway, I will continue what Mr. Hoffman has been stating. I would hate like hell to see this city go under. I would hate to see Los Angeles declare bankruptcy. I would hate to see this city and any other American city go under. I don't want to see Los Angeles be a part of the next domino that will fall. So, whatever it is that you do, whoever you talk to, you need to get together with whoever it is in the California legislature and support the Glass-Steagall bill. Otherwise, we're all going to hell in a handbag. This is no joke. I don't come down here to waste anybody's time talking smack. I'm here to tell you, you will be in deep mess if you do not support that bill. That's the only thing we have. And we are the only country, the United States, in the entire world that has such a law that controls the money, where it's put in the hands of the individuals, the depositors, and those people that do all their wild stuff on Wall Street can do what they want to do. Didn't anybody get the fact that they dropped it so that they could rip you off? And as a result of that rip-off, that's why we're all in trouble. I mean, common sense would tell anybody that, hey, why would they want to remove that? So they can steal from you. It's like telling you not to put bars or an alarm up in your house so they can come in there and break in the next day. I mean, it's really down to the wire, ladies and gentlemen. And that's why we're here. I'm not here to waste anybody's time, not yours or mine. You know I'm telling it like it is, and I really suggest that you check it out. You know all about this bill anyway, so please support the Glass-Steagall bill in the way that you can do it as a city council, and encourage the California legislature to do the same.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, Juan Acala. And then is there a Marvin Funds or Fush? Marvin? Or Mervyn? Mervyn Evans.
Not another Bush, please.
No, it's not another Bush. So go right ahead, Mr. Acala. Go right ahead.
Yeah, where do we make sense? We have a body of fairly well-to-do people controlling housing for everybody. Tell me how it makes sense for somebody here that says no socialism, and they're giving everybody food stamps and welfare. Because if you don't, you will have a revolution. What we need to do is start over and change the laws of real estate so there is no homelessness. The city is in trouble because they spend their resources controlling the homeless. I slept in the bushes last night. My biggest fear is that the police is going to find me there, because there is a lot of abusers in the police force. They treat the homeless like a piece of garbage. And they are garbage themselves, those people that are treating other people like that. So you need to stop homelessness from the root. We need to change the laws of real estate so we don't have a bunch of greedy 1%ers owning everything and keeping every building empty and all the people on the streets. This Glass-Steagall and all that, there's a lot of issues to be solved, but if you don't solve the problem of homelessness from the root, you are the laughingstock of the world. This is a country that says we are the greatest. No, we are the greatest piece of garbage, because we don't know how to treat one another. We don't know how to be good to one another. And that is a message.
Thank you, Mr. Acala. I'd like, and Mervyn, you've never written your name like this before where I couldn't make it out, but if we could have Mervyn come forward, followed by my friend Michael Carrion. Mr. Evans.
Councilman Wesson, if courage, leadership, management ability, a vision for the future had another name, it would be President Herb Wesson.
You can speak as long as you like.
All right. I would like you to do me a favor. I would like you to direct a letter that I'll provide you to Councilman Parks. The question is, can you use an industrial revenue bond to create a community investment fund? Normally, industrial revenue bonds are tied to a business. What I'm asking is, can the city create its own community reinvestment fund with a revenue bond? Let me tell you, it is a disgrace that 1 in 3 of our young men are passing through criminal justice, that 1 in 8 of our girls are pushing baby strollers. You can't blame the white man for that. We need to make the colleges free. We need to provide drug treatment to anybody and everybody who needs it. We need to do better. Please visit my website, mervinevans.com. Paul Koretz? Don't act like you don't know me. Okay. All right. May I leave this with your Sergeant of Arms? Merv Evans, your friend, and I want to let you know that with the outstanding leadership team from the South LA community, between Mr. Parks, yourself, Mr. Wesson, and our new friend, Mr. Price, I know that we can tackle these problems. I know we can make South Los Angeles a place to be proud to live in, proud to raise families in. All right. Hey, Paul, I need you to take me around to the neighborhood councils, too. All right. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you. Okay, Michael, come forward.
Good morning. Once again, I've tried to meet with my councilman, Mr. Huizar, and get a bunch of BS. I'm fed up, Jose. If you're not going to do what you say you do, pack your stuff and hit the road, Jack. Okay? It's time for a recall. You gave me your word that you were going to call on Friday. You said, give me till Friday because, oh, I forgot when I gave you the other 2 weeks. Oh, they went on a break. Bunch of BS. I'm tired of you pacifying me.
Michael, let's talk to the entire body.
I'm tired of Mr. Huizar pacifying.
Talk to the entire body.
Okay? And saying he's going to do things just to get by the day or the week and doesn't do anything about it. I've told him this before. I'm not here to play games with him. If he wants to talk, we can talk. But I do things the old school way. You're only a man of your word if you keep it. When you break it, you upset me, and I'm going to come here and let you and everybody else know publicly. Okay? You told me you're going to let me know Friday. You didn't let me know. Saturday, Sunday went by. Monday morning, I get a call from a person telling me that another person's going to call me. I was told I was going to get emails. Haven't got one email. So either straighten out your staff or pack your stuff and hit the road, Jack. Okay? As passionate as I am about my community, I will push a recall. I will push you out the door if you don't want to leave. Okay?
Come on, direct it to me, Michael, to me.
I sat here and I've asked him to sit with me and work with me on this.
Direct it to me.
I'm telling you. And he said, oh, yeah, let's do this. Pacification. Well, I'm past the point of pacification. Okay? Suit up, show up, do your job, or pack your stuff and hit the road, Jack. That's what I got to say.
Thank you, Michael. All right, that ends general public comment. Mr. Huizar.
Thank you. I just want to say for the record that this regularly constituent comes here to these meetings regularly. We did attempt to contact him on Friday multiple ways, this morning multiple ways. This is a song that this constituent constantly plays at these meetings. We do attempt to contact all constituents who contact our office. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so let's go back to our regular agenda. Mr. Clerk, or Madam Clerk, we want to call up item 10 on the regular agenda. If you could please identify what that item is.
Item 10 is the appointment of Mr. Matt Scavo to the Board of Public Works Commissioners.
Matt, please come forward and sit at the hot seat. Mr. Price, it's my understanding you're the vice chair of this committee, so I will defer to you to indicate to us the position of the chair or where you as a body are recommending that we go with this.
Thank you, Mr. President. Last Wednesday, the chair, Joe Busciano, Gil Cedillo, and myself met as the Public Works and Gang Reduction Committee. We considered the nomination of Mr. Szabo and the other nominees. Mr. Szabo gave an extensive overview of his experience, background, qualifications, answered questions from the committee. We found him to be well qualified, and the committee unanimously recommended his approval as commissioner.
Thank you.
At this time, permission, perhaps the
okay.
nominee to speak.
Would you like to say a few words, Mr. Szabo?
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and Councilmember Price, Councilmember Cedillo. I'll be very brief. I've had the honor and privilege of serving the city for the better part of, more than a decade. In my most recent role, I was working for the prior administration in charge, amongst other things, of budget and finance, and worked with many of you to work through one of the most critical times in the city's recent history as it relates to its finances and the financial crisis that none of us have seen since the Great Depression. Those new to the council from Sacramento know exactly, you were dealing with the same thing. We worked hard together. We have the very best, in my view, city employees in this city, some of the very best professionals. Our job over the past several years was to stop the bleeding. And council members, I believe now it's time to build. And if I can, in my role on the Board of Public Works, work to make this city work more efficiently, more effectively, doing the very basic and most critical services, certainly outside of public safety, that this city provides, it would be my honor to do so.
Mr. Bonin.
Thank you, Mr. President. How do you pronounce your last name?
Szabo or Szabo. Either one is fine.
Cool.
Yes.
I often get mispronounced as Bonin instead of Bonin, so just want to make sure we get it right. I've had the opportunity to work with Matt quite a bit over the past decade, and I just wanted to rise to say that I fully support your nomination, and I'm glad that you'll be serving in this capacity. My experience with you has been always a productive one. You are one of the people in the city of Los Angeles who does not run away from complexity and difficult challenges. You embrace them, you throw yourself into the middle of them, and I think we're a better city because of the service you've provided over the past 8 years with Mayor Villaraigosa, and I'm glad you're going to be continuing in this capacity. I also got to say, you've been a strong leader in the LGBT community, and I appreciate your work there as well. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Councilman.
Okay. Now this is not an invitation to play Jack in the Box, where everybody jump on the queue now, okay? But with that, because we still have several more appointees. With that, Mr. Englander, followed by Mr. Huizar.
Great, thank you very much. I just want to hear your top priorities and what you're going to look at from Public Works, and not in generalities, but very specifically, what are the key areas that you plan on focusing on as a commissioner?
Well, thank you very much. I think our ability to deliver services more efficiently and our ability to control the costs of providing those services is directly related, of course, to the number of services we're able to provide. I think what I'll bring to the board, and in an additional role that I will play also for this mayor, in working with our partners in labor to find ways in which we can work more efficiently, more effectively, control costs for the long term, because there's no real point in in rushing to spend more money if we're not in a position to sustain that additional expenditure of dollars and resources. We've got enormous challenges, as you know, council members, relates to our crumbling streets and our sidewalks. And in order for us to tackle that issue comprehensively, we need not only to demonstrate to the public that we are ready to deliver these services, these critical services, the most efficient way possible, but we need, if we're going to invest additional resources, as we've just begun to do in this last fiscal year budget, we have a responsibility to control employee costs and benefits costs to the greatest extent possible, so that every dollar that we ask of the taxpayer can go out on the street.
Mr. Huizar.
Thank you. And I was quite excited when I saw this recommendation because, as was mentioned, you bring a wealth of experience to this position. And when we sat in Budget and Finance, when I sat on Budget and Finance Committee, I saw that you had a good understanding of all facets of how to move things forward. And what I'm excited about this as well is that the Public Commission and members of that commission can make it what they want to make it. And in the past, it's been processing whatever comes to them. And I think with the group that we're seeing here, including yourself, we have the opportunity to work with our chair of our committee, with our mayor, with our council president, to really think creatively about having different financial streams to address some of our aging infrastructure. It goes beyond sidewalks and streets to also our bridges. We have some bridges that are in need of real repair. Our Chief Engineer, Gary Moore, does a tremendous job with the work he has. The 6th Street Bridge is but one example of how we went out and got creative about how to find the money to address those issues. We often say that the money just isn't there, but the 6th Street Bridge, I think, is a case study on how we can move forward and find the funding necessary to address some real needs in our aging infrastructure. But with you there and some of the other appointments, I think we have that opportunity to really think creatively and be proactive in terms of having a commission that thinks creatively and moves things forward creatively. So thank you for your service. You've been a tremendous asset to the city, and I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Huizar. Mr. Krikorian. And members, we're joined by Nuri Martinez. Let's give Nuri a round of applause. She's over by Mr. Krikorian. She'll be our new member in a few days.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Szabo, I want to echo some of the previous comments. As Chair of Budget and Finance, it's been a pleasure working with you through some very, very difficult and often contentious issues. I have always felt that, sometimes that conflict where there has been productive conflict that works us towards a better result. And so I want to tell you that I've appreciated that relationship that my office has had with you. And one area that I know you've demonstrated particular commitment to in your work with the mayor has been environmental sustainability, and particularly with your work with the DWP and otherwise. And so I'd like to have you talk a little bit about how our public infrastructure can contribute to environmental sustainability in the city. What do you see as some of the areas that you'd like to us to emphasize more heavily in our public infrastructure in terms of our well-earned reputation as the greenest big city in America?
Thank you very much. Well, I think given the purview of the Department of Public Works, what stands out for me, probably beyond all others if we're talking about public infrastructure, is the opportunities that we have with the LA River. I think that what we have seen thus far has been nothing short of remarkable. We have an opportunity moving forward, working with your council, to revolutionize what we have now there and turn it into not only one of the greenest areas, attractions anywhere in the country. It can be an economic generator like that we've been waiting for. It is an asset that I think, working with the Bureau of Engineering, we can really do wonders with. Obviously, we've moved forward, and this is not on the issue of infrastructure per se, but with our recycling efforts and our efforts to enhance recycling and reduce pollution as it relates to our waste hauling. And I will be very interested to make sure that that effort is implemented as efficiently and as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Seeing no other members on the queue, we'll go ahead and open the roll. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Congratulations. That was unanimous. Yes, sir.
We move this forthwith?
Forthwith. All the commissioners will be forthwith today, I believe. Okay, with that, seeing no objection to that. The next member up, Monica Rodriguez, if you could please come on up. And then we have a request that actually it'll be urgent forthwith, so Mr. Price, we'll go ahead and up that even more.
Thank you.
All right, you got it. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Likewise. Thank you, council members, for having me here today.
And if you could just open up and just tell us a little bit about yourself, and although I've known you for many, many years and you've been a dear friend, introduce yourself to the rest of this body and let us know why you would like to do this and what do you want to focus on.
Thank you so much. Well, as a lifelong resident of the Northeast San Fernando Valley, I've actually had a long history and familiarity with the challenges that we've had in our public infrastructure. Starting off with my early days working at City Hall with a couple of council members and concluding my tenure with the mayor of Los Angeles, Mayor Dick Reardon, I actually had a really great understanding and inner workings of city government and how we were able to create more opportunities for the city to access, or for residents to access the city services. From there, I've had a tenure in the LA Unified School Board, helping to, again, make the school district more accessible, more able to assist families in navigating the system, and most recently in my tenure with the California Association of Realtors, helping more California working families identify ways to become homeowners for the first time. I'm someone that's always had a passion for helping those that have never traditionally had access to either city government or resources to help make their quality of life better, and so I look forward to working in this capacity to expand those resources out to the city of Los Angeles.
Great, thank you very much. And seeing no one on the queue, no questions from any of the members, I'll just, if I could, entertain me with the same question that I asked previously. What specifically in what area would you like to focus on as a commissioner in Public Works? What's near and dear to your heart or expertise that you would like to look at and focus on in terms of citywide public works and infrastructure issues?
I recognize that street services are a critical issue for the city, but I think more importantly is helping to educate the public into how to access those resources and making that system more efficient and operate more effectively so that we're able to deliver those services in a very time-friendly manner. I think that's one of the biggest challenges we have to date, and to the extent possible that we can help make that service more accessible to residents in Los Angeles is something that I'd like to focus on.
Great, thank you very much. Seeing no other members, we'll go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Commissioner.
Item 9, Madam Clerk, who might that be? Might it be someone I know?
Item 9 is the appointment of Mr. Michael Davis.
I know him. I see you brought a posse.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Welcome. Mr. Price, I defer back to you, sir.
Well, again, we had an opportunity to hear this nominee, came before our committee. We found him to be well qualified. He provided some background and information on his goals and interests in serving on this commission, and we recommend him for approval.
Thank you.
And I have to echo that. I can't think of anyone from our community that is more qualified to move forward in this very important role than Michael Davis, and that was the recommendation I gave to the mayor where it related to your appointment. So I'm supportive going in, and I just want you to know that. There are no speakers on the queue. So I don't know if that's a sign that Mr. Price is just so articulate and he just dazzled everyone here, but I'm going to assume that's the case. So where it relates to Mr. Mike Davis, Madam Clerk, could you please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mr. Commissioner, congratulations. Okay, it's my understanding that we have a few more commissioners, and who's left? Somebody needs to tell me. This question here can wait for a moment. Who's left?
Item 6, Mr. Kevin James.
No, we're going to take this young lady right here. She just, on her own initiative, popped up, ran to the hot seat before her name was even called. And if you could just identify yourself, and we'll take it from there.
Good morning. My name's Barbara Romero, and I just want to say thank you. I'm humbled and feel privileged for the opportunity to serve at this capacity. I think that a kid growing up in Boyle Heights, to have this opportunity to change and transform our neighborhoods is a tremendous opportunity. And I see it as a privilege to be of service, because I think infrastructure is a funny thing. People don't notice that it's there until something's wrong. And I think it also gives us an opportunity to look at how we can improve the quality of life of people by the simple things of just providing basic clean water, streets that actually don't, that feel like that you don't destroy your tires. But most importantly, I think it's also an opportunity to see how we can create a city that we care for and that we love. So I'm committed to, at this position, if I get confirmed today, to bring my community sensibility, my integrity, but most importantly, I think for the last 10 years, I've been trying to green up the city of Los Angeles 1 acre at a time. And I think with that experience, I had learned that you have to pull different resources and you have to work. You can't just provide a park anymore. You have to look at how not only you provide an amenity for people, but how do you treat the water, and how do you solve multiple solutions while you're providing more green space. So I think I'm here for any questions at this moment.
Okay, I want to defer to Mr. Price, Vice Chair.
Again, we found this nominee well qualified and well committed, and we recommend her nomination.
Thank you, Mr. Price, but we do have some other speakers in the queue. I'm going to ask President Pro Tem Mitchell Englander to take over for a few minutes. And Mike, I didn't know it's Bonin? Wait, I don't want to offend you now.
It's Bonin. You've been getting it right.
Mr. Huizar, you're on the queue.
Thank you, and I understand you'll be assigned to the east side. I don't know if those things have been determined, but that's what I was told, and I'm excited about that as well. Coming from the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy and the work you've done there on open space and parks and providing those public amenities that low-income neighborhoods lack sometimes compared to others, I'm really excited about your work there. And when we worked on Vista Hermosa Park, we brought a park and move forward school in the Pico Union area, and we saw a lot of passion from you, commitment, and what I like the most is that you're working and always thinking about the local community and moving forward, not just buildings, not just public infrastructure, but what does this mean to local people in the area. We look forward to working with you, and we think that with you working in the East Side area, you know very, very well. I think the city's going to be served well. Excellent appointment, commission, highly recommended and highly supported by the council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Blumenfeld.
Thank you. My only regret about your appointment is that you're not also covering the West San Fernando Valley, because we've worked so well together. Not that we've worked so well together. As a fellow Conservancy alum, I know that you've been able to put together land deals. I know what it takes to do that, and it's incredible training for the work that you're about to embark upon. And so I'm just thrilled that you're doing it, and that you're bringing the training and the sort of the Conservancy lens that you've developed over these years to this position. So I want to just heartily add my yay vote.
Great, thank you very much. Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Romero, I think that the Department of Public Works is many things. It's a transportation-oriented department, it's a public safety-oriented department, but I think perhaps most fundamentally it's an environmentally oriented department, or it should be. And so I want to rise and, first of all, recognize your extraordinary experience that you've had in the Conservancy and otherwise, and as well as the River Revitalization Corporation, something very important to me. I want to applaud your work in both of those areas, and I'd like to ask you how you see that experience benefiting your work on the board, number one, but also because of your experience as a planning commissioner. One thing that has that I've struggled with is that often our planning decisions and our public infrastructure decisions have not necessarily been aligned. And so very often we have, in my view, allowed greater development sometimes than our public infrastructure can accommodate. And finding where that balance is a central question in figuring out how we move forward with an economy that continues to be vibrant, development that continues to create new investment and new buildings while still maintaining a semblance of quality of life. So can you speak to those two things, please? The environmental role that you see fulfilling as a commissioner, as well as how planning and public works might be able to work better together.
Yes, thank you for the question, and thank you for the opportunity to address you on this matter. I think from the planning perspective, I think we need to look at more how we get the departments to work together before and after and during the project, so that they're not working in silos. But I think what I bring to the table is how do you address these issues in a more natural solutions. So if we have a storm drain that needs to be retrofitted, can we daylight the storm drain and create a detention basin and make sure that we address that way in certain neighborhoods that request that. So I think I will bring my insight into what has worked, what doesn't work, and the limitations of the different bodies. But most importantly, I think the nuts and bolts. I think I'm going to bring that to the table because I have worked on planning a project from conception to identify the site to getting a B permit. So I understand the common sense approach of the challenges and the opportunities for improvement in the entire process. At the end of the day, I was building parks. I was a park developer, so I understand the accessibility. If policy makes a decision, how it needs to translate down to the plan checker. So that experience is what I think I want to bring to it. So how we become more efficient in our systems to make it clear to whoever wants to do some improvement out there, a resident, a land use planner, that they know what they should have to do to get some of this infrastructure improved. So,
Thank you.
All right. No more speakers on the queue. Let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll.
That's my son saying, please vote for her.
Where's the son? Son? Where's he at? Young man, we're getting ready to vote on your mom. Okay, let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Congratulations, Madam Commissioner. Congratulations. Okay, so now we have what's left. Item 6, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mr. President.
I believe that's Mr. James.
Yes.
Mr. James, if you could please come forward. I'm going to defer to the Vice Chair and then to Mr. Krikorian. So, Mr. Price.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, this nominee came before the Public Works and Gang Reduction Committee. The nominee provided an overview of their experience, background, and qualifications to answer questions from the committee. We found the nominee to be well qualified, and the committee voted unanimously to recommend his approval for this nomination.
Okay, Mr. Krikorian, since you represent a lot of that area, you may be able to bring a unique perspective to this council.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't know about that, but I'm happy to ask questions anyway. Mr. James, welcome and congratulations on your appointment.
Thank you, Councilman.
During your mayoral campaign, you discussed the commission appointment process and potential reforms. And I think one of the things that you observed during that campaign was that the ratification process, the appointment process, should be more vigorous and robust.
Yes.
And I have to say, I slightly disagree with you on that point, because I believe that a mayor is entitled to appoint the commissioners that the mayor feels serves best in a particular position.
I would certainly agree with you.
Okay. On the other hand, with that premise in mind, whether I agree with someone's politics or not, I believe in giving that deference to the mayor, who was elected by the people, with the expectation that the mayor will make appointments to assignments such as this. That being said, there are certain areas that are very important to me with regard to this position and any other commission assignment. And as you heard in some of my previous questions, one of the areas that's most important to me in who will make a qualified Public Works Commissioner is their commitment to environmental protection and how the city can best pursue those goals through not only its built environment, the infrastructure, but also through sanitation and otherwise. If I may, I'll get to the question now.
Oh, sure.
The question is, you've been very outspoken in the past, publicly extremely outspoken, in challenging some basic premises that many of us in the environmental movement take as absolutely undeniable truths. And one of them is the human impact on the climate. And you have publicly mocked that, actually, in the past through your radio show and otherwise. So I'd like to know, as you sit here today, and I recognize through some of the things you said during the mayoral campaign and otherwise, maybe that thought has evolved over time. But I would like to hear from you in detail how you think, what you think the human impact on the climate is, first of all, whether there is human impact on the climate. If so, does the city have an obligation to try to address that? And if so, what can we do through our Public Works Department to achieve those goals?
Try to keep up with the levels of your question as best I can. If I don't cover one, let me know and I'll get to it. First of all, Councilman, thank you for the opportunity and thank you for the question. I do want to say, however, that the premise of the question that I was extremely outspoken as a radio host on the environment I would disagree with. I discussed some issues sometimes. I think what you're referring to is an article that I wrote where I was very frustrated with the California Utility Commission in their attempt to control thermostats through remote control. The reason that angered me is because I, as a child, grew up with asthma, had asthma my entire childhood, and the temperature in our home could affect the ability of whether or not I could breathe. When I was young, I spent nights in the hospital in oxygen tents. So that said, I understand as well as anyone the importance of breathing clean air. I absolutely believe, and I've seen it as all of you have, seen the effect that we as humans have on our environment. I moved here in 1987, and the smog days that we had in 1987, we don't have those anymore. And it's because of the emissions standards that our legislature put in place that the people of California so beneficially followed that all of us asthmatics and other people throughout the state of California benefit greatly. So I don't question whether or not humans have an adverse impact on the environment. I know they do. What I questioned, and the reason I objected, was to the remote control of a thermostat in our home. So that said, I think, Council Member, that we very likely agree on the effect that we all can have, particularly in an urban center, on our environment.
I'm sorry to
Yes.
interrupt, but just the central point of my question was not our impact on the environment, but our impact on climate. So I agree with you, and I think there's many areas that we agree with on impacts on the environment.
I'm
But
gonna
when
get
it
there.
comes
I'm gonna
to
get there.
climate change, do you feel that there's a human
Of course.
impact on climate?
What happened, you know, when you write an article like that, Council Member, part of the reason to do that in that career is to create controversy and to get response. Unfortunately, perhaps the response came a few years later than I wanted. But in fact, I did elicit the response, and much of the response I got resulted in more of an education. And I talked about this during the campaign. You may have heard me talk about this during the campaign on the effect of climate change. And that's why when I entered the campaign, one of the things I focused on were offering real solutions to the environment through the Port of Los Angeles, through public works solutions that I'm happy to get to in detail in a moment, and through other areas, because I believe that we do have that effect. And the reason that, and the press said that I evolved over time. That's for other people to decide on their own. I know what I've always believed, but again, I've seen firsthand the effect that we can have both positive and negative. And that's why as a candidate, I tried to offer specific solutions for the environment. For example, in the Port of Los Angeles, there is technology that's available today that basically serves as a bonnet over the emissions of ships. So they don't have to plug in for cold iron, and we don't have to add the additional electrical pull from the communities near the port, particularly San Pedro. Just one example. Fuel cell technology, another example that I suggested. There were many that I put forth in the campaign. Moving to your question about public works. You know, we now, recycling has expanded significantly. We now recycle roads. It is much easier with full depth reclamation, and we do it. I know from talking to Bill Robertson, who I know from my neighborhood council days. Bill Robertson confirmed that, in fact, we bring entire roads now. We don't have to tear a road up and pull it out and bring a new road in. We can recycle a road in place. There are new technologies in concrete, in cement, in asphalt. I also know that our 2 asphalt plants, we need about $15 million right now, that there are ways that we can find to pay to upgrade and update the current asphalt plants that we have. There are opportunities that we have yet to undertake in the city of Los Angeles, something that I would like to be a big part of on the Board of Public Works. There are technologies that relate to the life of roads, the life of potholes. There are friendlier, environmentally friendlier materials that we can use. All of those technologies are available today, and sometimes they cost a little bit more in the beginning. But what we've failed at doing is we have failed at explaining to the public how over the cost of the life of the repair, it's beneficial to the public. And that's something that I would utilize the good side of the broadcasting skills to take to the people of Los Angeles, to explain that to the people of Los Angeles, and to implement that as an environmental part of the agenda of Public Works.
Well, thank you very much. Mr. Cedillo, please, of the great 1st District.
Making the first number 1. Thank you very much. Mr. James, thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you, Council Member.
I appreciate your candor. I was happy to vote for you a few days ago.
I was happy to have your vote.
Yes, as we spoke this morning. But in the interim, I received, as I talked to you this morning, a lot of emails, a lot of concerns about your qualifications to represent the entire city. And I agree with my colleague, Mr. Krikorian, that the mayor has been elected, he has been chosen by the people, and he has a duty, an obligation, and a right to make appointments. And absent any major concern, that we should support the mayor, that we want to work in concert in moving our city forward. But as we talked this morning, you know that I'm the author of the DREAM Act, several pieces of legislation to improve highway safety. It's important, I think, for the community to hear your evolving views on the questions that relate to immigration. And we spoke about this morning, and so I want to ask you a few questions with respect to that, because this is, if it's anything, a city of immigrants.
Absolutely.
And it is a city of promise and hope, and a city where people come to realize their dreams. As I said during the meeting, potholes are neither Republican or Democratic. Right?
I've yet to find one that voted for me.
They have neither gender, they have neither any bias. They are a problem and a challenge that confronts us. And as we spoke during the hearing, I think first and foremost we must think about Public Works as public service and as the tool and the vehicle that we use to create the physical environment for our economy to prosper for all. And so we come back to the question about service for the entirety of the community. Let me just ask you your feelings on the question of immigration reform as it confronts us in the nation today.
Councilmember, let me address an earlier part of your statement.
Yes.
Because one thing that I want to make clear, and I did this during the campaign, but I recognize, particularly those of you that were in your own races,
yes,
that you might not have paid as much attention to our campaign as maybe I'd wished. But the fact of the matter is, I have a very long record. I came to Los Angeles, as I said, in 1987. I have a long record of volunteer community service, serving very diverse communities. In the early 90s, I began my volunteer work with AIDS Project Los Angeles, and I became the chairman, the co-chairman of the board of AIDS Project Los Angeles. And under my leadership, we took our much-needed services during the AIDS crisis and moved those services from our central location in Hollywood to move them in to minority communities and underserved communities on the east side and in South Los Angeles. We sold our building. I signed those documents to be able to do that. And council member, when we provide those services to this day, we don't ask anyone their immigration status. We provide those services because they are needed, they are life-sustaining, and our clients are in crisis. And that continues to this day, and those satellites have grown upwards to 10 satellites now around LA County. My record as a pro bono attorney, getting specifically to your topic on immigration issues, as a pro bono attorney with NALEO, the reason that I became a pro bono attorney working with NALEO and their educational fund and the immigration and naturalization workshops that they put on. As a matter of fact, I coincidentally ran into Councilmember Price Saturday before last in his district at one of these workshops. I've been doing them for a number of years because NALEO leadership heard my discussions of the immigration topic on my radio show, and felt that the arguments that I made were backed up, but they wanted me to see face-to-face, to learn face-to-face the challenges that immigrants that come to our country experience because of our broken immigration system. And I did that. And I've been involved in numerous workshops. I've received commendations and awards from NALEO for the work that I've done. And there's been much discussion, there was in the campaign, about my evolution on these issues. Well, I support immigration reform. I have seen the challenges. I have experienced as a lawyer trying to figure out the immigration system that we have. And I've been a lawyer for 25 years. And it is a broken system. And there are people with so much to offer this country that for no good reason we put up too many barriers to get in their way. And that's why I have worked for years, long before I was ever a candidate, and as a host, as a broadcaster, to make a difference on. I support the California DREAM Act. It's been mentioned, as the LA Times has covered. I mentioned as well, council member, when we spoke about this, any bill that you present, something that I will do is always work with you. Give it, in my view, to the extent you want my assistance or my input or my advocacy. We will find common ground where we are able to work together to effect reform locally.
Mr. Cedillo, you got to look at your time. I just looked at it. So
sorry, council member.
Let's wrap it up.
Radio host speak in 15-minute segments. I'm sorry about that.
Why don't you just wrap this up?
My point is, council member Cedillo, that I also believe that beyond the position of public works, because I agree with you, my position represents the entire city, and I want to focus on CD1, CD8, 9, and 10, because in many ways those council districts have been underserved. And for other areas where I might be a voice for positive change with the audience that I attract and have in the past, with the voters that supported me, with a nonpartisan message, I'm happy to do it, and I think I can make a positive difference in that respect if you give me the opportunity to.
Thank you. And Mr. Cedillo, if you want to speak again, all you have to do is press your button again. I've got another couple of guys, and maybe you'll wind up closing this. So I've got Mr. Mike.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilmember Bonin.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
I'm glad someone in radio knows how to pronounce it right. That's good. I've gotten a lot of emails about your nomination. And I got to say I have a slightly different view than a couple of my colleagues about how vigorously the council should evaluate mayoral nominees. You know, there's a lot of people in my district who are very, very happy with the position you took during the campaign on LAX and the North Runway.
Yes.
And if you were up for a nomination to BOAC, that would definitely factor in my decision. Gotten a lot of emails from folks who aren't happy with your track record on comments on Special Order 40. And if you were a nominee to the Police Commission, that would factor very heavily in my decision. But as Mr. Cedillo said, there's not a Republican or a Democrat pothole, and I don't believe that there's a Republican or a Democrat way to fill potholes. And I'm actually very glad the mayor nominated you. I also hired on my staff a former opponent of mine who is more conservative than I, and I think he brings fresh energy and perspective and heart to the job, as I suspect you will. But I did have a couple of questions.
Yes.
I wanted to put a finer point on Mr. Krikorian's question before. Do you believe that it is proper for the Board of Public Works to exercise its regulatory power to incent or require measures that improve water quality or have a beneficial effect on climate change?
Of course I do.
Okay. Thank you for that. My second question regards the living wage. There actually perhaps is a Democrat or a Republican way to treat workers and wages. The Bureau of Contract Administration oversees a lot of contracts, and part of that is monitoring compliance with the living wage ordinance. Are you committed to aggressively monitoring compliance with the living wage ordinance so nobody is cheated out of a living wage?
Yes, and let me be a bit more, the answer to your question is yes, council member, but I want to be a little bit more broad than that. I am committed to compliance with our city's ordinances in the work that we do across the board. One of the things that I was critical of during the campaign is sometimes our city's inability to follow its own ordinances across the board. People in CD5 and CD11, perhaps, Councilmember Bonin, are the most critical of city government in those areas. And it's one aspect where my experience as a government lawyer, my experience as an assistant United States attorney, I think brings a unique ability to go the extra mile on just that topic from where I will sit, hopefully, on the Board of Public Works.
And in terms of city workers in general, what efforts are you going to make to understand the work and appreciate the work that is done by public employees?
You may have overheard me, I'm not sure. I was at the press conference yesterday talking to some of the guys in street services. Which
I didn't hear you. I was actually out filling potholes yesterday.
Okay, well, not in that suit, though, I hope. One of the things I will spend time with every department that we oversee, but beyond. I understand emergency preparedness, the involvement of Public Works in that. I plan on spending, and I've put the word out, 24 hours, a 24-hour shift with the fire department. I've got reservations at 59 and 26 already. Spending a full shift with the Bureau of Sanitation. I saw Enrique Zaldivar from Sanitation here. I told him last week I thought they were doing something ceremonial for me when I saw a sanitation truck that spent a few extra minutes outside my house on Friday morning before I attended Valerie Lynn Shaw's going away. I will spend time working with every shift of city worker over the coming months so that I can see firsthand getting my hands dirty. Not to be too clever, but I did come up with a term for it that I would announce if I had the opportunity. I suspect it'll be the nitty-gritty tour because I talked about Public Works being the nitty-gritty of running the city. And my nitty-gritty tour will include working with a street lighting crew. We'll be with sanitation. We'll spend a lot of time with street services, repaving, potholes, and spending time with John Reamer and the folks at Contract Administration. We'll do a lot of reading and understanding what they do, and Gary Lee Moore and the work that at engineering. You know, I used to say during the campaign that I was going to find the city engineer that knows how to make a maintenance hole cover level with the street. Well, I know that our city engineer knows how to make a maintenance hole cover level with the street. But we haven't taken the opportunity to go out and find the money that's available to us to bring those maintenance hole covers to grade. Well, I think I'll be able to find that money, and that's something that I'm going to be doing myself to a certain degree.
Thanks. Mr. President, I believe it's very important that campaigns end on Election Day and that we begin the day after an election to find common ground, and I think that the mayor's nomination of you to this position does that, and so I'm proud to support.
Thank you, Councilman.
And I agree with you. I mean, the election was done 8 p.m. on whatever day that was. Now it's time to move forward to take care of the greatest city on the planet. Mr. Huizar, we are getting ready to close this out.
Thank you. And, during the campaign, speaking of campaigns, I agreed a lot with what you had to say in terms of finding more efficiencies for the city, holding our bureaucracy accountable to its residents. That is language that I think we all could appreciate and want to work with you on. And to be quite blunt, as an immigrant myself, I was quite offended on some of the things I heard you had said on the radio show. But since then, we've spoken. Your answers to Mr. Estudillo's questions, I understand them. And when I personally get offended, no matter whether it's an appointment or anybody else, that discussion is warranted. That discussion is necessary for us to understand where we're coming from so that we as residents of the city, whether we're commissioners, council members, or just average citizens doing our business every day, can move forward as a city. And I think this conversation is a very productive one. It's a good one. And I truly appreciate where you're coming from. And yes, potholes are not Republicans, they're not Democrats. But in order for us to work with each other, if one person feels that the other person does not appreciate or respect their life history, their struggles, we really can't work together. So I appreciate where you come from. I look forward to working with you. I think you bring a lot to the table. And even your own political views, whatever they may be, it is a good conversation in this democracy to have. And that conversation will keep going in the city. We often take positions here, and we all look forward to hearing your views, not only on public works, but everything else. But thank you. I want to thank you for your service, because your campaign, and it shows that you're someone who's committed to make this city a better place, and we all agree on that. So thank you.
Councilman.
Mr. Huizar, thank you for that very much. I think that was needed to be said. Mr. Labange, to close.
Yeah, thank you very much. I met with Mr. James. I just want to let you know that bulky items are independents.
Yes.
So just go after the independents and get them all off the street. Don't want to see a bulky item on any part of the city of Los Angeles, and go after that, and you'll do a great job. Diversity counts, and this is a man of diversity, so it's very important you step forward and listen to people and understand the diversity of Los Angeles. As we move forward, I recommend an aye vote. Thank you very much. And for the record, Mr. City Attorney, I have not listened to KRLA since Johnny Hayes left at the Big 11 countdown when the rock and roll was playing there, so I don't even know you on the radio.
No offense taken, council member.
Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to close this the way I started this, which is we can disagree about a lot of things. The mayor appoints commissioners, and I think that on the substance, your record as a lawyer qualifies you well to do this work. I have to say, I don't think there's ever been a commissioner who appeared in this council appointee that I have had more strenuous political disagreements with than you. And yet, I think this has been a very productive discussion that we've had here today. I appreciate your frank responses to some very tough questions. Despite all of those disagreements, I actually congratulate the mayor on doing the kind of bridge building that this appointment represents, because you do speak in a way that many constituents of ours speak, and you share political views that some of our constituents share. And at the conclusion of a very tough, difficult campaign, both for the mayor and for many of the new members that have arrived here, this is time for this city to come together with a common vision for building a better future for Los Angeles. I look forward to working with you in doing that, and members, I ask that you support the nominee.
Thank you, Councilman.
Okay, with that said, thank you, Mr. James. Thank you for being here today and allowing the council to ask you a series of questions. With that said, Madam Clerk, open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
All right. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, we want to super forthwith, urgent urgent forthwith on these items that related to Public Works Commissioners? Without objection. There are no objections. What is before this council?
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Consider them posted and referred. Next.
That clears the desk.
Okay, announcements, members? Announcements? Okay, if I can ask everyone in the council chambers to please be quiet, to please rise. This is the adjourning portion of today's meeting, and a very important one. So if I could ask the members to please be quiet. Sergeants, please keep quiet. I would like to call on Mr. Tom LaBonge at this time.
Mr. President,
and Tom, if you need me to finish it up for you.
I got it. I thank you, Herb.
Quiet, please.
Thank you very much. Every day's a blessing, and my brother Chris passed a week ago Saturday. I saw him in the morning, and I visited him every day that week, and I said, hey, we got a game Saturday night. And he said, I'll be ready, Coach. I'm one of 8 boys, and he's the 4th son. He got captured by leukemia. He had great care from the USC Norris Medical Center, which the doctors and everyone helped so much. He's preceded in death by his wife, Roberta, who died in that same hospital of cancer 21 years ago. He raised his 3 children on his own, Matthew, Kate, and Michael. He was a great inspiration for me. Of all the brothers, he taught me a lot of words that are so important, and I live to that day for that. And I thank everyone for their support. He was a great athlete at John Marshall High School, all Northern League, Gil. He was the captain of the football team, captain at LA City College. His college coach came to his funeral on Saturday, which was so special. Many other players from City College came, and at Occidental, where he played, came, and a young man who he hired came, and a young man told the story. He's an older man now, how when his dad died, Chris sent him right to the airport and put on a flight home that day some 25 years ago to get closer to his family. He was a great inspiration, and all my brothers gathered. I thank the mayor for attending the rosary at Mother Good Counsel, and Herb, Father Clem Conley, Monsignor spoke, and also sang Danny Boy, which was so special. So the LaBonge family is one less, but we're still a family, and we live with strength. And I thank all of you, my colleagues here at this family, who know me and know my brothers and know how proud they are. And he's reunited with his wife, Roberta, in heaven, as well as our parents. God bless Chris LaBonge. Thank you, Mr. West.
Thank you, Mr. LaBonge. And if it's okay...
Thank you.
If it's okay with the other members, if you have any other adjourning motions, if you could save them for tomorrow, and then we would make today's adjournment just in the honor of Tommy's brother. I think that's the least we can do for a colleague. And Mr. LaBonge, you have the prayers of every member and every member of our family. Thank you for being just such a good friend for all of that. With that said, everyone, this council meeting, all members are always on these adjourning motions unless a member requests something special. So all members, again, will be on this. With that said, this meeting is adjourned.